Have you ever noticed someone walk into a room and immediately shift the energy? Not because they're loud, flashy, or try to impress anyone, but because they carry a kind of calm, effortless confidence? That's silent attractiveness. It's not about being the loudest voice or the flashiest dresser. It's about presence. A presence that's grounded, quiet, and magnetic. These are the people who don't chase validation, but still manage to earn respect the moment they enter a space. Their energy is composed, self-assured, and impossible to ignore. That's what we're exploring in this video. The kind of quiet strength that doesn't seek attention, but still commands it. This isn't about having perfect looks or putting on a performance. It's about the habits, subtle, deliberate, and rooted in self-respect, that speak volumes without needing to say a word. And you don't have to become someone else to develop this kind of magnetism. You just need to become more of who you already are, more honest, more intentional, more aligned with your best self. In this series, we'll explore 7 timeless habits inspired by stoic wisdom. Habits that build inner strength, quiet confidence, and lasting respect. These aren't surface-level tricks. They're rooted in character, discipline, and emotional intelligence. We're talking about calm energy, silent elegance, and the kind of presence that lingers long after you've left the room. Let's start with the foundation of it all. Habit 1, embrace your authentic independence. There's something powerful, undeniably magnetic, about someone who doesn't need to be validated by others. Someone who walks their path with quiet certainty. That's what we call authentic independence. But don't confuse this with arrogance. It's not about proving you don't need anyone. It's about knowing who you are, living by your own values, and finding peace in your own company. It's the opposite of chasing attention. Instead, it says, without saying anything, I'm whole, and I don't need to be completed by outside approval. In a world obsessed with likes, comparisons, and chasing trends, authentic independence is rare. And that's exactly why it's so attractive. People are drawn to those who don't flinch at being misunderstood, to those who don't bend just to fit in. When you're truly independent, you're not looking sideways at what others are doing. You're looking forward, focused, steady, grounded. You don't need to broadcast your confidence. People can feel it. You don't need to say you're in control. Your energy shows it. The way you carry yourself, the way you respond instead of react, the way you stand firm in your decisions. All of that creates a quiet ripple of admiration. But let's be honest, true independence is not always easy. It takes courage to stand on your own when no one's clapping for you. It takes strength to choose your own path, especially when it goes against the grain. And it takes self-trust, the kind that's built not overnight, but by showing up for yourself consistently over time. Independence doesn't mean isolation. It means building relationships from a place of strength, not need. When you're whole on your own, you're able to connect with others out of genuine desire, not emotional dependency. That's what makes your connections richer, because they're rooted in mutual respect, not desperation. So, how do you cultivate authentic independence? Start by asking yourself, am I living by what I believe, or am I chasing what others expect from me? That question alone can change the trajectory of your life. Practice spending time alone. Not because you're avoiding others, but because you're reconnecting with yourself. Go on solo walks. Reflect. Journal. Do things not for approval, but because they align with who you are. And slowly you'll notice a shift. You'll stop second-guessing your every move. You'll feel more grounded, more self-assured. And people around you, they'll feel it too. They'll notice that you don't need to chase attention, because you've already earned your own respect. Authentic independence sends a message that you're not trying to impress. You're just being true. And that kind of quiet integrity, that's the most attractive thing in the world. In the next part, we'll explore habit 2, mastering the art of silent elegance, how grace, presence, and restraint can often say more than 1,000 words ever could. Habit 2, let grace speak louder than words. There's a quiet kind of power in someone who knows when not to speak. Not out of fear, not out of passivity, but out of intentional restraint. That's what silent elegance is all about. In a world that glorifies noise, constant updates, hot takes, and endless opinions, silence has become rare. And when something becomes rare, it becomes valuable. That's why elegance, true elegance, always feels so captivating. Silent elegance doesn't mean being passive or invisible. It means knowing when to speak and when to let your energy do the talking. It's the power of walking into a room without demanding attention and still being noticed. It's the stillness behind your eyes, the way you hold yourself, the calm in your presence, the quiet confidence that says, I don't need to perform for you to see my worth. Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus practice this in every part of their life. They believe that dignity isn't shown by volume. It's revealed in restraint. That wisdom isn't loud. It's precise, measured, and intentional. Here's the thing. People remember how you made them feel. And nothing leaves a deeper imprint than someone who moves through the world with quiet poise. That kind of person makes you lean in. They don't push, they attract. So what does silent elegance look like in everyday life? It's walking away from drama instead of trying to win the argument. It's letting someone underestimate you and quietly proving them wrong with action, not ego. It's pausing before you respond, not to manipulate, but to ensure your words reflect your values, not your emotions. And it's not just how you speak. It's how you dress, how you move, how you make decisions. It's the softness in your tone when everyone else is shouting. It's the way you hold eye contact, not to intimidate, but to understand. Silent elegance is deeply connected to self-respect, because when you respect yourself, you don't feel the need to over-explain. You don't seek constant reassurance. You don't have to prove your intelligence, beauty, or value every second. You already know it, and that inner knowing, it radiates. But here's a truth most people won't tell you. Silent elegance isn't always easy to maintain, especially when you're provoked, especially when your emotions want to erupt. That's where the practice comes in. Elegance isn't a costume, it's a habit. It's choosing dignity over drama. It's responding instead of reacting. It's staying composed when it would be easier to explode. In moments of conflict, ask yourself, will this reaction reflect who I am or who they want me to become? That question alone can save your peace. Elegance isn't the absence of emotion. It's the mastery of expression. It's not suppression. It's selection. So cultivate stillness. Move with grace. Speak with precision. And remember, the most powerful people don't have to shout. They let their energy whisper. And everyone listens. Habit 3. Be selectively seen. There's a reason mystery has always been magnetic. Not knowing everything about someone doesn't push us away. It pulls us closer. It awakens something primal in us, curiosity. We want to explore what's hidden. We lean in to hear what's not being said. And the moment someone reveals everything too quickly, the allure dissolves. Mystery isn't about playing games. It's about being selective, intentional, about what you share, when and with whom. Because truthfully, not everyone has earned the right to know your story. Think about it. The strongest people you know aren't necessarily the loudest. They're the ones who reveal things in layers. They protect their inner world. They speak in truths, but never in excess. Stoic thinkers understood this well. They believed that emotional discipline was more than control. It was strategy. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his thoughts to impress others. He wrote to discipline himself. His journals weren't for show, they were for growth. And that's the lesson. You don't have to share everything to be real. You don't have to perform vulnerability to be authentic. Sometimes, your power lies in what you don't say. In practical terms, making mystery your strength means you don't overshare in the first 10 minutes of meeting someone. You let people discover you little by little. You withhold your plans until they become reality. You speak with purpose, not impulse. Because mystery isn't about hiding, it's about honoring. You honor yourself by recognizing that your thoughts, dreams, and struggles deserve sacred space. They aren't for public consumption. They're for growth, reflection, and chosen connection. There's also a deeper reason mystery is powerful. It creates space for interpretation. And people don't fall in love with facts. They fall in love with possibility, with what might be. Mystery allows their imagination to participate in your presence. That's why a quiet smile can be more seductive than a long speech. Why a moment of silence can say more than paragraphs. Why being slightly unreadable isn't a flaw. It's a form of grace. But mystery also requires boundaries. You have to be willing to disappoint people who demand access to your mind or your life prematurely. You have to be comfortable being misunderstood by those who expect you to explain yourself constantly. And that takes strength. When someone says, "You're hard to read," don't see it as criticism. See it as confirmation. You're not easy to manipulate. Because here's the truth. When you're too transparent, people stop listening. When you leave some pages unturned, they keep reading. When you become an open book, you get skimmed. But when you're a locked journal, you get studied. So keep your mystery. Let curiosity work for you, not against you. You don't know the world every detail. Only those who've earned the privilege of knowing them. Habit 4. Stay calm in chaos. When the world feels like it's falling apart, when people around you are panicking, yelling, or spiraling, there's one rare trait that commands instant respect. Unshakable calm. Not fake calm. Not performative silence. But a deep, grounded stillness that radiates from within. The kind you can't fake because it's been earned through practice, discipline, and inner clarity. The Stoics called the state ataraxia, freedom from disturbance. It doesn't mean nothing affects you. It means you've trained yourself to respond without being ruled by impulse. Imagine a fortress. Its walls are thick, not to keep life out, but to protect what matters most inside. That's what your mind must become. A place where storms may rage outside, but inside, it's still, focused, clear, because the world will always give you reasons to react. Someone will disrespect you. Plans will collapse. You'll feel misunderstood, overlooked, even betrayed. But here's the truth. You are not obligated to react to everything you feel. Just because a wave hits doesn't mean you have to drown. Just because someone throws fire doesn't mean you have to burn with them. The power of inner stillness is that it lets you observe before you respond. It gives you space between the trigger and the reaction. And in that space, you reclaim your power. The Stoics trained us every day. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you'll find strength." That's not just philosophy. That's a strategy for survival. You can't control what people say, but you can control how you internalize it. You can't control what chaos arrives, but you can choose what story you tell yourself in the midst of it. So how do you build this fortress of calm? Start with your breath. When you feel yourself getting pulled into chaos, anchor your awareness. Inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. Let your breath remind your body, we are not in danger. We are in control. Next, train your focus. Don't chase every emotion. Don't attend every argument you're invited to. Let some things pass. Not because you're weak, but because you refuse to give your peace away cheaply. And finally, create rituals of stillness. Whether it's journaling at dawn, walking alone without your phone, or meditating with your eyes closed in the dark. Make solitude a discipline, not as an escape, but as a recalibration. Because when your inner world is calm, no one can weaponize your emotions. You become unshakable. And in a world that thrives on noise, distraction, and manipulation, that's a form of power few ever master. So next time the chaos comes, and it will, ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Will this matter in a week? Am I responding from truth or from ego? Let those questions guide you back to your fortress. Because when you become calm, people notice. And more importantly, they respect it. Habit 5. Stop explaining yourself. In a world obsessed with overcommunication, endless captions, constant justifications, non-stop talking, There's something profoundly powerful about a man who doesn't explain himself. He doesn't rush to be understood. He doesn't chase validation. And when he speaks, people listen. Why? Because when you speak less, your words become more valuable. They land heavier. They carry weight. They command attention without begging for it. Most people talk too much because they're uncomfortable with silence. But silence is not a void, it's a test. A test of who needs noise to feel important and who doesn't. The Stoics mastered this. They weren't known for speeches. They were known for restraint. Epictetus said it best. If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Why? Because true strength doesn't need applause. It only needs truth. Think about the people you admire most. They don't post their every move. They don't need to constantly prove their worth. Their actions speak so loudly, they don't need to yell. Speaking less isn't about being cold or distant. It's about being deliberate. You stop giving away your energy in unnecessary conversations. You stop explaining your why to people who've already decided not to understand you. Because here's a hard truth. The people who demand explanations are often the ones who won't respect them anyway. So stop wasting your breath. Let your life answer the questions. Let your consistency silence the critics. Let your energy walk into a room before your mouth ever does. This habit, speaking less, is not about ego. It's about discipline. It forces you to ask, is what I'm about to say necessary? Or am I just filling space? Because if it's not necessary, it's noise. And noise is the enemy of presence. Here's how to apply it in your life. Pause before responding. Buy yourself a second of clarity. Speak only when it adds value, not when it feeds your ego. Resist the urge to explain yourself to people who misunderstand your silence. Say less in conflict. The calmer, quieter man often wins, not because he's passive, but because he's in control. And perhaps most importantly, let people wonder. Let them guess what you're thinking. Let them sit with their assumptions. You don't owe them your inner world. Not everyone is worthy of access. You are not a product to be explained. You are a presence to be felt. The less you explain, the more power you keep. Because in the end, mystery plus clarity equals influence. And when your words are rare, people treat them like gold. Habit 6. Let go without going numb. Here's one of the hardest lessons the Stoics ever taught, and one of the most misunderstood. Care deeply, but hold loosely. You're not here to go through life untouched. You're not meant to be numb, cynical, or emotionally frozen. You're meant to love with fire, but without chains. That's the art of detachment, not indifference, not avoidance, but the ability to care without clinging, to be invested without being owned, to feel everything but be ruled by nothing. Most people think detachment means being cold. It doesn't. It means you choose when and how something touches you. You don't hand your peace to every passing storm, every love interest, every comment online. The Stoics practice this relentlessly. Seneca once wrote, "He who is brave is free." And freedom begins with your inner grip. What are you holding on to so tightly that it now controls you? Detachment is the antidote to obsession, to overthinking, to the ache of always needing outcomes to go your way. Because let's be real, you could do everything right and still lose. You can love someone purely and still get hurt. You can build the perfect plan and still watch it burn. So what do? You let go, not out of weakness, but from strength. You train your heart to accept what is. You train your mind to stop begging for what's already gone. And you train your soul to move forward, even when the past still whispers. Here's what detachment looks like in practice. You send the message. If they don't reply, you don't spiral. You give your best. If they don't appreciate it, you walk. You love fully. But if they leave, you don't chase. You care, but you never beg. Because when you beg, you've already lost yourself. And the Stoics taught us, losing yourself is the ultimate defeat. Detachment gives you the space to breathe, to recalibrate, to stop tying your worth to what others do, say, or choose. It doesn't make you heartless. It makes you whole. And if you're wondering how to get there, how to detach without losing your soul, start here. Meditate on impermanence. Nothing lasts. Not pain, not love, not even joy. And that's okay. Cut the cords, not the care. You can love people from a distance. That's maturity. Remember, your peace is not up for auction. If something or someone costs you your inner stability, it's too expensive, because the most dangerous man in the room is not the loudest, not the richest, not even the strongest. It's the man who has nothing to prove, because he's already let go of needing anything outside himself. That man can't be bribed, baited, or broken. Habit 7. Build when no one's watching. This is where everything comes together. All the silence, the discipline, the restraint, the detachment, it all leads here. The habit of becoming unstoppable in private. We live in a culture obsessed with being seen. Everyone's showing their grind, their hustle, their look at me transformation. But the strongest men, they're building in the dark. No applause, no performance, just war in the quiet. Because they understand something most people never will. The real transformation doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the shadows. You become dangerous when you can outwork everyone without anyone knowing what you're doing. You become unstoppable when your greatest wins are never posted and your worst losses don't break you. You become free when you stop performing and start preparing. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, not to impress others, but to refine himself. He wasn't trying to be influential. He was trying to stay centered. He trained his mind in private, so when the storms came, he was already unshakable. That's what training in the shadows does. It gives you roots. When the winds of life blow, and they will, you don't fall, because you've already bled for the moment in silence. So here's what this looks like in your life. You wake up early, not for clout, but for clarity. You lift when you're tired, not to show off, but to sharpen your edge. You journal your fears, not for likes, but for truth. You study, build, sweat, and struggle while the world sleeps. And when the time comes to show up, you don't flinch. You arrive because you train for this in the dark. You rehearse for this pain. You bled for this peace. And now, you don't need to say much. You don't need to beg for respect. You are the proof. The quiet man is the most dangerous, not because he hides weakness, but because he hides strength. Strength built brick by brick, in the silent hours, with no audience. So here's your reminder. Stay in the shadows. Do the work. Say less. Feel more, detach, endure, and when it's time to rise, rise like thunder, but speak like stone, because you don't need to shout your power. When it's real, the world will feel it before you ever say a word. You don't need louder words. You don't need more followers, flashier looks, or borrowed confidence. Silent attraction is built from the inside through presence, restraint, and self-mastery. The world may overlook noise, but it never forgets stillness. So walk slower, speak less, and let your actions and your silence say everything. Because the most magnetic man isn't the one who tries. It's the one who doesn't need to. Now you know the difference. Stay grounded, stay powerful, and above all, stay silent.